An angry reaction this morning from the Immigration Minister, Scott Morrison. He's not impressed that some families of asylum seekers who died during a boat tragedy off Christmas Island are now taking legal action against the government.
George Newhouse from Shine Lawyers is leading that action, and he joins us now from Sydney. George Newhouse, good morning. Thank you for making time.
Good morning.
What will the families be arguing in the New South Wales Supreme Court?
Well, they'll be arguing that on the evening in question, the government knew that there were boat arrivals coming to Christmas Island in the midst of a storm, and that there were vulnerable men, women and children on the high seas in danger, and that the government did not have an operating seaworthy rescue service on Christmas Island, and therefore people died as a result.
What evidence do you have that that intelligence was available?
Well, that evidence came out in the inquest and will come out during the course of this case.
So is the argument, the corollary of or the implication of your argument, is that the government didn't care to rescue these people, that it left them to their fate?
Well, I think there's a subtext in Australia's refugee deterrence policy that if you come by sea, we're not very good at saving lives, and neither are the Indonesians, and you take your life into your hands. I think that is a dog whistle message that our government does send.
So you're deliberately making that implication that the government knew there were people in an unsafe circumstance and didn't care to rescue them?
Well, it's not a question of not caring. It's a question of not having the service seaworthy to rescue people. On the morning in question, there were rescue vessels on Christmas Island, but they didn't work. They were unseaworthy, and they could have saved lives, and they could have also protected the Australian Navy officers who actually put their lives at risk to save the asylum seekers, when if the rescue vehicles and the rescue vessels had been seaworthy, they could have saved the event from occurring at all.
But when it comes to the issue of duty of care, the issue of intent arises, of course, and what did the Australian government intend to do or not intend to do? So you're saying that by, let me just ask my question if I can.
I apologise.
So you're saying that by leaving those boats in a state where they could not be deployed, that this was a duty of care, this was a dereliction of their duty of care?
Correct. It's like having an ambulance service, but you can't drive the ambulance because the engine's broken.
But then you have to go on and make the argument that the Australian government owes a duty of care to people who unexpectedly arrive by boat.
Well, why set up a rescue service or an ambulance service, using the analogy that the Minister uses, if the ambulance doesn't work? They know that there's a risk. There is a duty to save lives. They set up a rescue service, but they don't fund enough money to it to ensure that the vessels are seaworthy. The government knows that there's a risk. They've taken on the duty by establishing a rescue service, but then on the day that it's needed, the boats don't work. So
the duty that you say the government has taken on by establishing a rescue service is owed to every single person who gets on any leaky, unseaworthy vessel and puts their lives in the hands of the asylum seekers and the people smugglers and comes this way.
But everybody who gets into a boat is at risk of drowning.
But is every
whether
person
you're
who
on
gets
a passenger
into a boat...
No, but please let me answer the question. You're right, people get on boats all the time. We don't distinguish between saving lives on the basis of whether a person has a visa or not. Surely you're not suggesting that if a person doesn't have a visa, we don't save their life?
I'm not suggesting anything, I'm just testing some arguments this morning, but let me go on and press you on that point.
Yes.
So then, do you believe then that no matter the number of people and the circumstances, that Australia owes a duty of care to any person who comes on any kind of vessel and enters our shores?
The law of the sea does not distinguish between any person in any particular boat. And I wouldn't distinguish between someone and rescuing someone on the basis that they have a visa or not.
So this is what Scott Morrison said about the legal action that you're bringing. Let's all have a listen to what he said this morning.
Sure.
Frankly, I think this is a shameful and offensive claim to be making. Sure, people have the right to bring cases to court. We're a free country, but they also have to be accountable for the claims that they bring. The men and women who served that day showed a level of bravery, self-sacrifice that we have seen only on rare occasions. And the response of the people of Christmas Island, our fellow Australians there, was also extraordinary.
Scott Morrison speaking outside Parliament this morning. George Newhouse, what do you say about the rescue effort made by Australian Border Protection officials?
Well, that's the kind of ignorant comment you'd expect from the Minister, who misled the Australian community on the events of Manus Island. He's got it totally wrong. We're talking about not the brave men and women who actually put their lives at risk to have to save the asylum seekers. We're critical of the failure of the Commonwealth to properly fund and ensure that the rescue boats were seaworthy on the day. Those poor Navy officers would not have needed to put their lives at risk if the service had been operating properly.
Where are the families that you're representing in this case, George Newhouse? Are they here in Australia or are they elsewhere?
Yes, they are in Australia.
And should you be successful, what are the families after? Are they after money, restitution?
The families want to ensure that the worst peacetime maritime disaster in a century does not happen again, and that men, women and children do not need to unnecessarily die at sea as they did on that fateful night.
And on what basis are you bringing this case? Is this a fee for service or a fee only on being successful, or is it pro bono? I've got a very limited role in this. The families have come to me to ask for help, and we're assisting them in court. They actually brought the proceedings on their own and asked us to help at a later date. And are you doing that pro bono?
Well, my arrangements with the clients are on not on a pro bono basis.
Okay, so
but we are not going to be acting other than in a very limited capacity.
All right, but do you imagine that should you be successful, there would be some money that would change hands, there would be some compensation that would be paid?
I'm not sure.
Okay. When do you imagine this will actually turn up for its first appearance in the Supreme Court?
The first appearance could be in a matter of weeks.
Okay. George Newhouse, good to talk to you. Thank you for making time.
Thank you.